Hey friends, TUXX here. I've been getting a few more questions about the Sony NW-A306. So I wanted to go ahead and do a follow-up video to my follow-up video, and I want to talk in this particular video about two things. Number one is about playlists and transferring playlists, and number two, I'm going to talk about displaying lyrics. I get a lot of questions about that, people who just want to read the lyrics, or they're curious what a lyric is, or maybe they want to do karaoke or something, and we're going to cover that a little bit later in the video. But to take the first subject here at hand is playlists. Okay, so you watched the other video, you know how to create a playlist now, but let's say you want to transfer, whatever reason you're trying to take your music from one player to another player, okay? The best method I have, honestly, is to go ahead and make a flash drive. These do have the little memory cards in here. Put the memory card in, put all the music actually on the memory card, okay? And then from there, if you want to take your music out, you can just go ahead and pull out the memory card and stick it into the other player. Now, in the event that the other player is not a Sony player, sometimes different DAPs have different file systems, okay? Sometimes they're just dropped on the memory card. More times than not, there's a file folder called music, okay? And maybe there's one called playlists, and we'll show you more about that in a minute. But if you're actually switching from one DAP player to another, 9 times out of 10, I've had good success is taking the memory card out, sticking it from one player into another. But just buyer beware that sometimes different DAPs may have a different memory card system, like a different file system. So when you stick it in, maybe it shouldn't be called music, maybe it should be called something else, songs or whatever, So as you get more into like the little specialty things of having a DAP player, like displaying lyrics, like playlists, it isn't always as universal as just pulling it out and sticking it in another player. Now, for me, I always recommend keeping your music on something else, which is this, my Microsoft Surface. And this is kind of like my music bank. Okay, so I keep all the music I have on here. If I download it to a computer, eventually I thumb drive it and I move it over to here, okay? You can also use different services, like I use Office 365 and different things to transfer files from one to the other, which makes it kind of automatic, so your music collection or your playlist or whatever have you can be on multiple devices, and that's a good backup, because I have lost my entire music collection before, and it's terrible having to replace everything you have. Even if it's just downloading it again, it's such a pain. It's much better to have it saved on multiple devices. That way you always have a backup copy kind of ready to go. And if you have one thing which is kind of like your bank, your music bank here, then you always have it in a safe location, okay? But anyway, so enough about that. So that is the way that you would go ahead and, for me, to easily transfer playlists, if you're actually taking the whole music collection, playlists, songs, lyrics, whatever, everything, and just moving the memory card from one to the other, that's the best. Now, sometimes there is reasons why people maybe don't want to put things on a memory card. Maybe they just want to have the base memory. They don't have that many songs. It'd be easy just to keep it on the player itself. Or maybe they don't want to spend money on a little memory card. Now, memory cards are really cheap, so it really wouldn't be too expensive to buy a high-quality memory card to stick into your DAP, and I still would recommend that. But if you don't want to, I get it. I get it. Then what you'd have to do basically is plug this into a computer and then do the same method where you're transferring files. And let's go ahead and show you what this looks like if you take your Sony NW-A306 and plug it into a computer. Let's take a look at the file system right now. So once you have your Sony NW-A306 plugged in via USB to the USB on the computer, which in this case is my little Surface here, you're going to get a little message like this again. I've showed this before, where you want to do file transfer. So click File Transfer, click OK, and that basically allows the computer to see what's on here, kind of treating this as a hard drive, okay? So now we'll go ahead and move this over here. Hopefully you can see the screen okay. Let me get my personal email off of here. Nothing too devious in that. We're going to click on the file here. So we're going to click the file folder, right down there, file folder. Okay, and then up here it's going to open up a window. And over here we're going to have a thing which is Sony, should say Sony Walkman. Let me see here. Okay, so now the computer here has opened up this device, the DAP player, okay, and you can see there's two different hard drives in here, essentially. There's the onboard memory, okay, and then the SD card, okay, and you can see in this particular case, I do have quite a bit of stuff on the actual player itself. That's only because I have so many players, and some things I just leave on here all the time, okay. So once you have it in here, you can go ahead and open it up, and we'll just open up the internal storage for the case of this example. And you can see there's a whole bunch of files. Now this is where some of the files that are displayed here for Sony may differ from other players like my A and K player here, the Alpha. Okay, so that's one situation where maybe it doesn't line up perfectly. But in most cases, music will, okay, because usually there is a music folder. But you can see there's a whole bunch of different folders here for podcasts and ringtones and notifications and all sorts of things, audiobooks and everything. And again, as you get into these little subgenres like audiobooks, might be called something different or inside another folder, or maybe they're just inside music, you know, that's something to keep in mind, okay? But basically, if you copy the whole sum of the internal components here onto here, and then just transfer that to a new player, like just take it and plug this one in, you'll see this is a hard drive, and then you go ahead and just transfer it. Normally that will transfer playlists for you as well, which make it pretty good. Now, if you want to dive into it a little bit more, okay, you could go ahead and take a look, and you can see there's different folders here for everything. Now, if I go into music here, just for fun, let's go ahead and click on music here. Maybe I'll maximize this here real quick. There we go, and there we have music. And you can see inside music here, we have the actual thumbnails. So if you're trying to transfer a thumbnail from, you know, like you want to change a thumbnail, there's all sorts of like MP3 editors that you can edit on, okay? And I'll show you more about that in a minute as well. And that's where I usually would change a graphic, like if to something I like better, like maybe the graphic on the MP3 or music file, FLAC file, whatever, is not the ideal graphic, or I want something higher res, or who knows, you know, whatever reason, you can change that on an MP3 editor, okay? And normally, if there was lyrics displayed, there'd be something in here, okay, along with that. So as an example, let's go ahead and take a look at Pearl Jam here. And under Pearl Jam, you can see there is like all sorts of little files. Now, if there was a file for lyrics, normally it's in here, okay, and it would be called the same thing as the actual MP3 file, okay, and I'll show you more about that in a minute too, but that's where it would be. Now, one thing I found is that with my collection, I really don't have a whole lot of song lyrics, okay, so to jump more to the song lyric thing, as far as transferring it, you know, if it was in here, if you copied everything, much like you're doing for a playlist transfer, if you copied everything from the hard drive of this, you know, to here, or transferred it from here to another player, normally that would transfer the playlist as well. So it would still be, you know, in there if you're just transferring your whole music collection, playlist, art, everything together, you know. Now, as far as if you wanted to create your own lyric sheet, that is a whole nother little thing, okay? And there's a few steps to it. And I almost want to say I don't want to get into it in this particular video, but you could open up Notepad in Windows and you could create a lyric sheet. You have to hand type out the lyrics yourself, and it could work. But for me, that's a lot of work, honestly, that I probably don't want to do, because I don't usually read the lyrics, and I'm not that concerned about having lyrics or not having lyrics. But I know opinions do vary on that. Some people really like to be able to read those lyrics, you know. And the funny thing is that I have songs on here. I thought, okay, well, maybe the paid MP3s have lyrics built into them, you know. And so I went ahead and just for fun, like Jeremy, I thought would have it. But if you're actually on the player, let me unplug this now. If you're actually on the player, so let's say this one here did have some text files, as you've seen, okay? And here, give it a second to create database. Okay, so in the case of Pearl Jam, there was several files in there which look like it may actually be lyrics, okay? I can tell you in this particular case, unfortunately, it was not. But again, if there was lyrics in here for any song or whatever, all you have to do is hit the three dots here. Okay, oops, three dots. And then right here, there's a little thing saying display lyrics. See that? Display lyrics right there. Display lyrics. We're going to hit that. And then 9 times out of 10, it's going to say lyrics not available, because it's not finding that Word document, or that document which would be, you know, it's more like a notebook document actually, that would have the lyrics on it. Okay, and there may be other ways of doing this too. There's many ways of crossing the finish line in this case, and different players may have different rules as well. But normally 9 times out of 10, the rule would be you'd have to have a separate file in the music folder with the same exact song name, but then the extension is different, okay? And that is the difference between the computer or the DAP seeing it as either a MP3 it's going to play for you, or being lyrics that's going to display for you, okay? And so that's something to think about. But again, it's really weird where most songs don't seem to have lyrics included. And I thought, okay, well, maybe if it's a thing where it's, you know, oldest to newest to oldest. Okay, so I went and took a look at some of the newer songs. Let me switch the order here again. Let's see here. Okay, let me go down here. Let's see here. What is what's kind of new that I've just downloaded. Let's see here. Taking a look here. Okay, so let's see. Honey, Are You Coming? Okay, by Modeskin. That one is one that is a paid MP3. That one I purchased. So you think, okay, well, since you bought it, maybe the lyrics would be on there. So you hit that, and again, we're going to play it right now, and then we're going to hit the three dots, and we're going to hit display lyrics. And you can see, once again, no lyrics, okay? So that's the thing where this device, it definitely is able to display lyrics. I mean, it's right there in the menu system, you know, display lyrics. But unfortunately, most songs, no matter if it's something that you ripped yourself or something which you purchased, like this one here, it doesn't actually have lyrics in it, okay? So that's something to think about. Maybe I haven't really tested all different things. Let me try. Maybe I can find one from Apple here. Let me see here real quick. Let's see here. What would I have on here from Apple Music Store? Let me see. What would I have? You know, it's unfortunate, but because the Apple Music Store tends to have things not in the highest quality, and I mean no disrespect by that. They're fine quality. They're fine to listen to, but compared to other FLAC files and more HD audio files that are much bigger in bandwidth, Apple does want to try and balance their server weight and server transfer rate by, you know, like the amount of money they're making essentially. So they don't always pick the best for the end user as far as quality goes. The quality's good, but it wouldn't be the biggest file. Like a DSF file is much larger than an average FLAC file. And so they don't pick necessarily the largest file format. They kind of think what's the best for all things around. You know, for us, saving money on our server transfer or server storage, and also, you know, still okay for the end user, you know. And so I honestly don't have much Apple Music on here at all. I don't think I have any Apple Music. But depending upon where you buy your music from, there could be lyrics included as well, okay? And again, if you want to transfer those lyrics, is as simple, the easiest method is to actually just go ahead and go to your computer, you know, go to your USB here, plug in the USB to your laptop or your computer, and then just transfer the whole thing, and then go ahead and take it, your new player or your other player, and then just transfer from that to that, you know. And keep in mind that different players do have different rules. Like, unfortunately, as much as I love FLAC music, I found that in my Corvette, GM does not play FLAC files, which is crazy. So I have to plug in a player in the car, you know, or a phone on like Android, you know, CarPlay or whatever, to be able to listen to FLAC files in the car. I can listen to them straight off a actual USB flash drive. Okay, to recap, sorry this video has been so long. This is a really tricky subject, you know, and again, it's different for different players. But long story short, when it comes to transferring playlists, the easiest way of doing it is to go ahead and just transfer everything from here onto a computer or something, a device, a hard drive, and then transferring it from there, you know, to the other player you want to put it on, okay? And if it is Sony versus Sony, all the better yet. If it's not the same two brands of DAP players, there may be some issues where I can't find certain things, especially when it comes to audiobooks and lyrics and things like that, you know. And when it comes to lyrics, as far as displaying lyrics, if your music file actually has lyrics, it's incredibly easy. You just play a song. Here, we'll play Def Leppard. I'll try one more. Maybe we'll luck out here. And then from there, on the Sony player, all you have to do is hit the three dots. Oops, let me go back in. Hit the three dots, and then you type in, or I'm sorry, hit display lyrics, and if there was lyrics, they would display there, okay? But unfortunately, the vast majority of my music collection does not have lyrics on it, you know. And although I feel obliged to try and make sure I have good album art in most cases, like the actual album, you know, CD picture, I usually don't go to the effort of actually putting song lyrics on it because I'm not using it for karaoke, and because I'm already having such a big music collection, it'd just be overwhelming having to like type out lyrics and make my own lyrics files, you know. There may be some services that add lyrics for you. If you have a good one, let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious about that because I know some people really do love their lyrics, okay? All right, friends, I hope this video has helped you. If you have any other questions, please reach out to me, tuxtoys@gmail.com. You know I'm here to help, okay? I'll have links for these devices down below, so click the link, save some money. I'll try the best price for you. And thanks for watching again. We'll talk to you soon, okay? Bye-bye.